And then I'll walk through some slides that give more details, and then we'll break into small groups and give you an opportunity to ask questions. Anything you want to know about the project, we're here today to tell you about it. So right now I'll play the video and we'll go from there.
We started this company guys after a dozen years of building a wind farm around the country. We just came to the realization that you can't keep building wind farms unless you build the wires to get that energy to market. And that's what our company does. It's a pretty simple idea that you go to one here, we got the large electrical load over here, we got to connect it to
about our project. And so what this illustrates here is the evolution of wind energy. Back 20 years or so ago, this is what a wind farm looked like if you were to build it. This one is out in Palm Springs, California. And as you can see, the wind turbines are pretty close together. They're not that tall. And now, if you look to the right, that's what wind turbines look like today. They're spaced out, the towers are very tall, the blades are long and graceful, and what that has resulted in is greater efficiency and the ability for wind turbines to get more energy from the wind. And that translates into lower cost of electricity for energy, especially when you're in the windiest parts of the country, like the Great Plains. This map here illustrates the average wind speeds in different parts of the country. And as you can see in the middle of the country, that's where the wind speeds are the highest. This purple color here represents the really high wind speeds in the middle of the Great Plains. And so that translates into the lowest cost wind energy. And so what we want to do is bring that really low cost wind energy to market. As you can see in the middle of the country, there aren't very many high voltage lines. There's actually no lines that are above 500 kilovolts. But if you look in Indiana, there are. We can get to the border there of the Illinois-Indiana border, specifically to here in Sullivan County, we can access a really high voltage system, specifically at the Sullivan substation near the old Reed plant near Fairbanks. So what our project seeks to do is connect the wind resource area in western Kansas to that substation. And from there, the power can flow to not only consumers in Indiana, but all the way to the East Coast by getting onto those extra high voltage lines. And so our company is Clean Line Energy, and that's what we're all about. We are working to build bridges, the overhead transmission lines, to connect the best wind resources in the country to stronger points on the grid and more consumers. And we're developing 4 projects. They all have that same rationale. And the Grain Belt Express is the one that involves Indiana, and specifically Sullivan County. We're a privately funded company. We have investors that are family funds with a long-term investment horizon, which is great for what we're doing because it takes a long time. And also, our management team has people on it that have built big infrastructure projects before. For example, the founder of this company was one of the co-founders of Horizon Wind Energy, which built the wind farm up along I-65, Meadow Lake Wind Farm. So we're a new company. We were founded in 2009, but we have a management team that has a lot of experience building big projects like this. So what technology are we using and why? Well, we are using high voltage direct current transmission to move this wind energy to market because it's the most efficient way to move large amounts of power over long distances. And that's because you lose less energy along the way, and you can move more energy with a smaller number of wires than you would need with alternating current lines. And so that translates into more efficiency and lower cost per mile for delivering the energy. The trick with DC lines is you need these converter stations. And we'll have one in Kansas, and that's where the wind power will get onto the line. And then we'll have another one as an off-ramp where the power will be converted back into AC and then delivered onto the existing grid here in Sullivan County. Now this is being studied, so the studies are all in different and it will enable $7 billion of investment in new wind farms. And 3,500 megawatts is the amount of capacity, and what does that equal to? Well, it's about the same as 3 Hoover dams, and it's enough power for 1.4 million homes. So it's a lot of energy. And so, why are we doing this? You may think wind power is really expensive. It's not competitive with other types of generation. And Indiana has a history of having low-cost electricity. Well, wind energy, as I mentioned before, has gotten more and more competitive. And we can deliver wind energy for about 5 cents a kilowatt hour. When you look at the price of the wind energy in Kansas, which is about 3 cents a kilowatt hour, and you add on the cost of the transmission, which is how Clean Line will make our money, which is about 2 cents a kilowatt hour. So if you compare it to any other type of new power generation, it's actually really competitive, and that's why we're doing this. So why Indiana? Well, Indiana is the crossroads of America for its highways and its rail lines, and it can also be a crossroads for transmission. Just like I showed earlier, where if we can get to that point on the grid along the Illinois-Indiana border, right here in Sullivan County, there we can deliver the power, and it can flow on the existing system to get to consumers all the way to the East Coast. So Indiana can be a crossroads for renewable energy because of its high voltage transmission lines. So what does this mean for the state? You know, as I mentioned, it's a lot of low-cost renewable energy, and it's enough for 1.4 million homes. Because it's such a low cost, introducing this new supply of low-cost energy will have downward pressure on wholesale electricity prices. And in the long term, that will result in consumer benefits on the retail level. In addition to the low-cost electricity, there will also be benefits for property tax revenue and sales tax revenue that communities can put towards schools and roads and ambulances and everything like that. So this project represents investment in communities. In addition, jobs. You know, jobs, that's on everybody's mind these days, and this project, you know, is going to create a lot of jobs, about 5,000 construction jobs to build the line and the wind farms. And that's why we're here today, is to initiate the process of identifying local businesses that can construct the transmission line, and also do the surveying and the geotechnical engineering and the land acquisition, right-of-way clearing, because we're going to need a lot of help to build this line. And so we are committed to using local vendors however possible. We want to identify qualified local vendors to do this construction work, and that's part of the reason why we're here. In addition to construction jobs, there will also be manufacturing job benefits. Indiana is a manufacturing state, and there's actually 200 businesses in the state that already supply the wind energy and transmission industries. And this map here shows where they are. These are businesses like Universal Steel and Bernini Wind, ATI Castings. These businesses already provide components and services for the wind energy and transmission industries. So in addition to the economic benefits and the job benefits, there will also be health and environmental benefits because this is a clean resource. So we're not looking to replace coal generation or other types of generation. Those will continue to be an important part of the energy mix. But what we are looking to do is add wind energy into the mix because it's a competitive resource and it just makes sense to diversify our energy mix. And so with that will come benefits like water withdrawal reductions. Because wind energy doesn't require water, we'll see less water withdrawn from lakes and rivers. And one example is I was here a couple weeks ago and met with a representative from Bruce Borders, and he said there are parts of the Wabash that you can walk across. So of course these days water is an important thing that we should protect. So how are we going to get this done? Well, this is a big project and it's a long-term undertaking, and we've been working on it for 2 years, and we have many years to go. We hope to begin construction in 2015, and that'll take 2 to 3 years. But for us to be successful, we have to do a number of things. One is to become a utility in 4 states. We've got Kansas checked off. We became a utility there late last year. And we're going to file to become a utility in Indiana by the end of this year. And that's the other reason why you're here today, is we want you to be aware and informed and have the opportunity to ask us questions before we do that. Because that's a public process that's done at the state level. So we want you to be aware of it. So once we become a utility in each of those states and we get the permits we need to construct, we'll also get capacity contracts, and that's again our business model where we sell capacity online. And then again, we can begin construction in 2015. This kind of illustrates our approach. We have been taking for the past 2 years a very proactive and transparent approach because we think that's the way that we'll be successful. If we take input from the local communities to find our route, to address their concerns, and to mitigate them, that's important for us to be successful. And this kind of illustrates, we had 800 community representatives across more than 100 counties come to roundtable meetings where we looked at maps and put dots on them to identify where their popular campgrounds are, where they're planning to build an industrial park, so that we could develop potential routes that will minimize our impact on land use and on communities. We had someone here from Crawford County, and we had a meeting there not too long ago to ask them these questions. And to ask the county commissioners, for example, where would you put the line if you were us? And that's what's going on there in that top right corner. So again, long-term process. We're here in Indiana today because we're going to file to become a utility by the end of this year. And we want the community to be aware of it, and we'd love to know if any of you are willing to support us and sign a support letter for us today. Obviously, no pressure to do that, but what's more important is for us to give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have. And so that's what we're going to do now. This is our website, brandonaltusgrasscleanline.com. We're also on Facebook, and you can like us there to see pictures and keep up to speed. You can also follow us on Twitter. So what we're going to do now is have some small group discussions to make sure everyone has a chance to ask any questions they have. And we've got plenty of pizza from Henry Bobes, and I'm sure you've all had some, but please help yourself to more if you'd like to. As well as the cookies, which are pretty much the best cookies I've ever had in my life. So, all right, so we'll break down to small groups. And again, thank you so much for being here. Can I join you?